Mm-hmm. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
We do the
baby,
barbershop quartet thing yet?
on board. No.
No.
What if your voice doesn't fit in any of the wonderful frequencies?
Right. Right. I have no idea.
Then you'll sound like Fish when they do barbershop quartet.
All right. Let's go.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football. I'm living in a fantasy. Football. Got everybody mad at me. Football. Cause every game I had to win. Football. I gotta be a champion. Football. I'm living in a fantasy.
Oh, maybe your champion is just beating Kansas City. But either way,
Right.
you're a champion if you won your fantasy matchup, and maybe you don't know because you're waiting. Just like Bloom was waiting for me to get a Gatorade out of the fridge. We're waiting. Bloom, you're so patient with me. I appreciate that, man.
Oh, I'm forever in your debt, Cecil. We wouldn't be
You
here
got the
without you.
Ocelot Brewing Company shirt on.
Yes, it's no longer beer soaked. They're wonderful. Ocelot in the Dulles area, in the Washington D.C. area. Check them out. I got to crack open some of those beers, but not before the show or during the show. That's for Sorry Joe Plus.
Yes, Sorry Joe Plus coming to you. And how about this? Sorry Matthew? I don't know. 43-20, Dallas Cowboys, Los Angeles Rams is where we begin the show today. The Rams are 3-5, the Cowboys are 5-2, and let's talk about this week. And Matthew Stafford out there, Brett Rippon gets in the game as well. Royce Freeman leading the way. Wasn't anybody else. So Royce, what are you doing, Royce? Anyway, Royce Freeman 9 for 44 and a rushing touchdown. Matthew Stafford out there trying to do his thing to get this team involved. 162, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Darrell Henderson 3 for 54 as a receiver. Tyler Higbee 5 for 45. Puka Nacua 3 for 43. Cooper Kupp 4 for 21. And ScoreNext scored the touchdown that Stafford threw. Bloom, the Rams are a bit of a mess today and certainly got off on the wrong foot. You know, this game plan was out the window when they were down 17-3.
Right.
And then 33-9 at half.
Yeah, this is a Cowboys defense that can smell blood in the water to get the feeding frenzy going. And that's what it was today. A lot of quarterback injuries to talk about. Stafford busted up his thumb on his throwing hand, came back in the game, actually looked okay, and then left the game. So we'll see. These throwing hand injuries can be really tricky once you have x-rays, once the swelling goes down, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, for Puka Nacua, for Cooper Kupp, this would be disastrous. This would be any missed games. You're going to ask yourself, next week they play Green Bay, and you're going to ask yourself, with Brett Rippon, really? Am I going to play one of Brett Rippon's targets, depending on who else you have? Because it was that bad after Stafford left the game. It wasn't that great before Stafford left the game. In the backfield, you do have close to an even split. At least Darrell Henderson did something as a receiver. There's not really a clear starter here, and not anybody that you're compelled to play if Matthew Stafford is out. That's the big thing that we're going to be tracking here, among other quarterback injuries. And I think you can see the Rams, they're not quite rebuilding, but they're also not really a contender. The pick six put them behind the 8 ball, and they could not actually do anything about that. But hey, Cease, at least they have clarity for the trade deadline. They're not a buyer.
Yeah, no, that is a no for the Los Angeles Rams. And well, there's Dak Prescott going 304, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT. Be damned to your zone defense, says Dak. Cooper Rush gets in. More on that. Tony Pollard, 12 for 53. Dak Prescott, 4 for 19 as a rusher. Why did I say that? CeeDee Lamb, 12 for 158 and 2 touchdowns. Are the Cowboys now buyers?
Right.
Brandon Cooks, who I would guess doesn't want to be reunited with Sean Payton, 3 for 49 and a touchdown. Jake Ferguson and Schoonmaker was out there. When they were celebrating together, I was like, stop.
Yeah.
You're merging in front of us. But Jake Ferguson, 4 for 47 and a touchdown. Michael Gallup, 2 for 20. Okay, well, did Cooks do enough? So now that they don't go get a Jerry Jeudy or Devontae Adams or whatever, yeah, whatever. I mean, they pretty much did whatever they wanted, passed all over this team.
Yeah, they ran the Rams out of the building. Dak Prescott, what you love here is coming out of the bye, Brian Schottenheimer, Mike McCarthy, enliven this offense. And how do you do that? You just throw to CeeDee Lamb a lot. It's just that simple. career highs in catches and touchdowns, and Lamb wasn't doing as much. We were wondering, hey, teams are taking away Lamb and the Cowboys don't have a counter punch. No, they still have a punch. It is CeeDee Lamb. They don't need a counter punch there. Jake Ferguson even did well. None of the other secondary targets did much. And then there's Tony Pollard. Whoo, boy. Now, he still ran with some efficiency, and the game was out of hand. It was 33-3 at one point. So the game got out of hand, but we're waiting. We're waiting for Tony Pollard to have explosive plays. It's very disappointing that in a 43-point output for his offense, you probably had a better running back than Tony Pollard on your bench. He was in your lineup, but he's going to be back in your lineup next week in what should be a marquee game, potentially a high-scoring game at Philadelphia.
Well, for a time here, Bloom,
Mhm.
it was like, wait a second. And by time, I mean the first quarter. Yeah, okay, New England and Miami is up next. And for that first quarter, I think it was the Bourne touchdown, right? It was like,
Mhm.
ooh, wait a second. Could they? No.
No.
No. Oh my God, we're going to see no.
No.
Not going to happen. Although I do appreciate Kendrick Bourne. 31-17, the final score. The Dolphins beat the Patriots. Pats 2-6. Sell. Well, whatever. And the Miami Dolphins are 6-2. Mac Jones, 161, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. Kendrick Bourne, the aforementioned touchdown, and nobody else did anything else. Even my guy 7-11, 5 for 25. Ramondre Stevenson, 10 for 39. Why am I talking about this? It just wasn't working. It couldn't work. And Vic Fangio, you know what he said? Bill Belichick, I've got your number. Not just once in a while, but
Yeah.
every day.
Every day.
Mhm, that's right.
Every day. Yeah. This is not a good offense. Every now and then for a week, they make us think, are they a good offense? This is not a good offense. But Kendrick Bourne did leave the game after he scored that touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, not that involved as a receiver. So even the booms aren't that great. And the bust weeks, the floor weeks continue to be too frequent. It's just a floor week for really this entire offense, which again is too frequent. Even Narmian Pop Douglas had 5 catches for barely anything. Juju Smith-Schuster. And why is the back of his jersey? It looks like an eye chart. I'm 48 years old. Why do I have to say is it the right or the left eye that I can actually read Smith-Schuster on the back of his jersey? I don't understand. I'm coming up with stuff to talk about because I don't want to talk about this offense, even next week against Washington.
Well, I know it's Halloween, so be prepared for our Halloween show.
Oh, yeah.
Bloom.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Did you see
Tuesday, the waiver wire show. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the little kid that did the Mike McDaniel Halloween costume? It's
No,
pretty easy to pull off. Get you a dolphin
is.
sweatshirt, right? Gray. Get your gray sweatpants. You may already have them, fellas. And then some white tennis shoes and like some sunglasses, right?
Yeah.
And so this little kid, and I think he drew on the beard.
Oh, perfect.
And he did the run, like when Mike McDaniel does the run into the tunnel. And they like synced it up with McDaniel's run. I was like, it was so damn
That's
cool.
great. That's
Anyway,
great.
Mike McDaniel's, we love him, everybody. And do you know the story about his Charlotte Hornets hat, Bloom?
No.
So he would go to Greeley to Broncos training camp, right? He'd ride his bicycle over, okay? And it was Robert Del Pino. He got Robert Del Pino's autograph, and he wanted to go back because they used to do 2-a-days. Those used to be a thing, everybody. So but he was afraid that Robert Del Pino would like see the kid in the Charlotte Hornets hat and not sign for him twice. Okay. So he put it down like over with the fans, and he went over and got the second Robert Del Pino autograph, and he came back and his hat was gone, and he was crying, and he went to Broncos. One of the staff members came over to him, was like, what's the matter, kid? Oh, I lost my hat. Can you find it? Lost and found. They didn't find it. The next day he comes back, and that same staff member walks over to him and hands him a new Charlotte Hornets hat.
Wow.
That guy bought him the hat. Now, here's where it gets cool. He introduced that guy to his mom, and they ended up getting married.
Wow.
Stepdad.
There you go. The
I'm
Charlotte
getting
Hornets
chills
hat.
to talk about it. I mean, the dude is legit.
Mhm.
Legit, everybody. Like one of the stories you can root for out of this world. Mike McDaniel. Tua Tagovailoa, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Jalen Waddle, 7 for 121 and a touch. Tyreek Hill, 8 for 112 and a touch. Did he get a little banged up in this game? It seemed like it. Anyway, I was watching it at a comic book convention. Shout out SpawnCon. Anyway, there's my VIP badge. 1 touchdown also for Cedric Wilson. Okay. Raheem Mostert with a touchdown, only 46 on the ground, but pretty much whatever they wanted to do worked against New England. And yeah, everyone should have a Charlotte Hornets story like that, right?
I hope so. Well, strange instructions from the universe can lead places. Just go with it, this week, boy, let's go back to like Wednesday. Cease Tyreek Hill. Well, we'll see when he's going to play. Jalen Waddle. He had back spasms last week. Ooh, we're looking at Braxton Berrios as the number one wide receiver for this team. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Right.
Tyreek Hill getting behind the defense. Jalen Waddle had his first big game of the year. If there's something that's not fine here, it's Raheem Mostert, who did at least score a touchdown. He had the same number of touches as Jeff Wilson and Salvin Ahmed combined, 13. But I mean, 10 or whatever it was. My point is, it wasn't even like that happened because he got 20 touches and they got 20 touches. Okay. So what do we have here going forward? Jeff Wilson's going to play a role. Salvin Ahmed's going to play a role. And by the way, Devin Achane also due back soon. And rumors are they're asking about running backs. So maybe the ride is over if you had Raheem Mostert. The ride is not over.
Who they are asking about potentially?
Oh, go ahead. Do share.
The King.
Yeah, of course. Well, he's going to stay because he's got the Prince William with him. Now we'll get to that. Spoiler alert. But hey, get up on Sunday. Make sure you're awake. Brew a pot of coffee because at 9:30 Eastern over in Frankfurt, Germany, Miami is going to play the hopefully feeling better Patrick Mahomes led Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, stay away from the fish and chips. He supposedly had the flu. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Jordan had a flu game. You know what he did? Went out there and won.
Yeah.
Chiefs fans already don't like me. I apologize. How about Jets fans like me? I don't know. Chase Stewart likes me, so that's cool. He's like the ultimate Jets fan. Love that guy. OG. New York Jets, New York Giants up next. 13-10. Bloom, we could do this one pretty quick. We could get through this game pretty quick, as you would like to say. Jets side first, and we'll go Zach Wilson, a touchdown, no INTs, 240 yards. It was Breece Hall with a receiving touchdown, 6 for 76 and a touch as a receiver, and then 12 for 17 as a rusher. Garrett Wilson, 7 for 100, and that's it for the Jets.
Yeah, 15 punts in the first half. I think they were starting to talk about how this game could
Wait a second, what?
There was 15 punts in the first half. And they were talking about how, they can only go back a certain time in the records to find out, are they threatening the record for most punts in a game? Yeah, it was a defensive struggle. Kayvon Thibodeau, while we're talking about the Jets side, let's talk about Kayvon Thibodeau. Boy, he looks like he's ready to break out. You did have Breece Hall with his 50-yard catch and run touchdown. You had Zach Wilson, the leading rusher. But hey, Breece Hall had a 50-yard catch and run touchdown, so you don't mind that. And Garrett Wilson with his 7 for 100. It's 2 weeks in a row, 2 games in a row. They had a bye week in there where he had 17 points as a PPR receiver. If I told you Zach Wilson was going to take over and Garrett Wilson would get you 17 points in your PPR league, you'd say, I'll take that. So this Jets team, they're not going away. Aaron Rodgers looks like, I guess he could be back before the end of the season. And this is a team that certainly can win next week with the Chargers coming to town.
Yeah, and the Giants side, I mean, when Tommy DeVito's in, you're wishing Danny DeVito was in.
Yeah.
But at least Saquon should go to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Maybe he should. I don't have to say anything
right
other than Saquon. Literally, and believe I'm using it correctly, Bloom. You're the smart one. In this relationship, we all know who the smart one is. But Darren Waller, literally the leading receiver with 1 catch for 4 yards.
Yeah. Yes. It was bad. It was really bad. Tyrod Taylor, a big guy, lands on him. He has to go to the hospital. Rib injuries. Hope everything's okay there. Tommy DeVito at least had a rushing touchdown. But they often see we get minus passing yards for somebody. The undrafted free agent rookie. Another undrafted free agent rookie. It's only week 8. How many undrafted free agent rookies are going to start in the NFL quarterback? That's the kind of week it was. At least Saquon Barkley can run the ball 36 times. Don't overuse him. Don't break him. Please don't break him. This is a lost season. Well, they don't care because he's probably not going to be a Giant next year. Hey, they have a defense, and that's it. Going to face the Raiders in Las Vegas. Have fun.
What do the Steelers have, Bloom?
Nothing. They've got outside linebackers.
True. Very true. Exciting OLBs. And, well, All right. Jacksonville and the Steelers up next. Actually, I talked to a Jaguars fan during the game that was out at SpawnCon, and 20-10. All right. Jacksonville gets the win. Trevor Lawrence goes 292, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Evan Ingram 10 for 88. It was Travis Etienne with 3 for 70 and a receiving touchdown. Also Etienne with 24 for 79 on the ground. Awesome. Calvin Ridley 6 for 83 in this one. Christian Kirk only 4 for 46. So Jacksonville wins. And honestly, Bloom, it felt like they could have scored more.
Yeah, they could have. They outclassed the Steelers in this one. Played a little bit of drizzle, but that wasn't really a big deal. They were by far the more consistent offense. Travis Etienne gets free for a touchdown catch. And really, you heard this one before. The Steelers defense was actually really spirited and high effort and had 1 or 2 lapses that basically made it so they could not keep their terrible offense in the game. So you did see a little bit of an ankle issue for Travis Etienne, left the game for a little bit. But hey, guess what? Jacksonville has their bye next week. How nice is that? Trevor Lawrence was solid, mostly short stuff to Ingram, a little bit more downfield to Ridley. Ridley with a bounce back game. Remember, Steelers defense, if the pass rush doesn't get home, there are going to be open receivers. That was actually Calvin Ridley and Ingram more than Christian Kirk. Your first place Jaguars going into their bye and feeling like they haven't played their best football of the year yet, but it's to come.
It is to come. And what's to come for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Curious.
Moral victories.
Mitch Trubisky. Hey, huh? Okay. Ground game didn't do anything. Deontay Johnson 8 for 85. Okay, there's that. George Pickens 1 for 22 and a touchdown. There's that. 4-3 feels more like 0-7.
Yeah, well, because there's no offense. There's just no offense. No offense. Kenny Pickett goes out with rib injury. Doesn't matter. Mitch Trubisky, I guess it does matter in so much that we know that Mitch Trubisky likes to look for Deontay Johnson, doesn't really look for George Pickens. You did see George Pickens get a touchdown in this one, make it a game, catches it in the middle of the field and leaps over 2 defenders for a touchdown. Just a regular day for George Pickens, but that's the only catch he got. And otherwise, what else is there to talk about? Guess what? Guess what, Cease? On Thursday night, the whole world gets to watch the Steelers offense against Prince William.
Matt Canada somewhere being like, at least I'm not running the Giants offense.
Yeah, well,
with Tyrod. Anyway, let's do this. Atlanta and Tennessee. Save it. Will Levis, everybody. But first, we got to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Talked to a Falcons fan today, and I was like, well, you need to get Taylor Heineke in there. Next thing I know, I look up and Taylor Heineke's in there.
What else do you want, Cecil? Coming right up.
Exactly. 28-23, the final score. Tennessee gets the win. They're 3-4, but they're 1-0 in the Levis era. That's right. Atlanta Falcons 4-4. Let's talk about Heineke. 175, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Ritter out. Heineke in. Jonas Smith attempted to pass, and it was a DeVito-like? I don't know. Anyway, Bijan Robinson, 11 for 62 and a touch. Kadero Hodge, 3 for 75. Nobody started him. Drake London, 5 for 55. Kyle Pitts, 3 for 35. Sounds about right. Tyler Algier, 8 for 31 on the ground here as well. So, yeah, the Heineke time is now, but for how long?
Yeah, well, Ritter left the game for a concussion check and didn't come back in. Called a benching. I mean, look, this is what it means. We're going to all be tuned in to see who's going to start at quarterback next week for Atlanta against Minnesota. We know who's going to start for Minnesota. Spoiler alert. Drake London also got hurt in this one with a groin injury. Don't think we'll see him next week, probably. Oh, that means Kyle Pitts is going to... No, Kyle Pitts only had 3 catches in this game. Even though Drake London went out, even though Johnny Smith only caught 1 pass, Kadero Hodge was more involved. That's where we are. Van Jefferson, Mac Hollins. It just continues to be a cruel, cruel joke. And hey, Bijan Robinson scored a touchdown and he even ran for about 5.5 yards a carry, but that's it. That's all he did, 11 for 62 and a touchdown. What's that in fantasy? I mean, Royce Freeman pretty much had that line today. So what's that worth? What's this offense worth? Where's this team headed? A first place team. Did I mention this team's a first place team down here in New Orleans? Not for long. and we'll see what they can do against Minnesota next week.
Yeah, Will Levis, let's talk about it. 4 touchdowns. Is it because Malik Willis had that play where it's like, wee, fumble? Was that like the third play, whatever it was of the game? Again, 238, 4 touchdowns for Will Levis. 4, count them. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 for 128 and 3 touchdowns. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 1 for 33, but it was for a touchdown. I still want Chiggy. Oh, Chiggy Azem Okonkwo, 4 for 23. I really felt the rookie would say, okay, where's my security blanket at? His security blanket was DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Although Chiggy did get 6 targets, the same amount as Nuke. Derrick Henry, 22 for 101. Like seeing Henry on the Verizon commercial, I think. Anyway, let's talk about the Will Levis era, which should now just start and stay there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan Tannehill, you got Wally pipped.
Yeah, going into this game, this was the passing touchdown ledger for the Titans. Ryan Tannehill had thrown 2. Derrick Henry had thrown 1. Today, Levis threw 4. So, yeah. And the way this went was on the first touchdown, it was A.J. Terrell and DeAndre Hopkins, stride for stride. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins never run away from anybody, really. And there was jockeying, as there often is, between wide receivers and cornerbacks. And Hopkins pretty much grabbed him, mauled him. But as many cornerbacks know, that's not always going to get a flag. And Hopkins caught the ball. And I think at that moment, Will Levis said, I know what to do. Throw to that guy. He'll just make it happen. And that's what DeAndre Hopkins has been doing for his whole career.
Isn't it as simple as that sometimes, Bloom? Especially with guys like Nuke.
Football's not that complicated. They make it very complicated. They make plays with 11 words in the name and things like that. But sometimes it is just that simple. Sometimes the simplicity of a rookie's brain. And you saw Derrick Henry get the workload. So everything's looking up here. Now, we got a little lesson from Paul Kuharsky, among others, saying when we hear in the media a team has no plans to trade a player, that means nobody's offering what they want. Will that change? Possibly. It could possibly change by Tuesday because it was left open that Derrick Henry could get traded. But coming off of this game, Mike Vrabel's probably saying, we're headed to the playoffs. Will Levis is going to start a playoff game, right? So don't tell Mike Vrabel this team can't compete. Don't tell that to Will Levis. And certainly don't tell that to the Steelers, who will be preparing on a short week to get the bad taste of this week's game out of their mouth at home.
Okay, battle of the top picks in the draft went to Carolina. 15-13, the final score. Panthers get the win over the Texans. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud, 16-24, 140 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. Noah Brown, 3 for 57. Nico Collins, 4 for 30. Tank Dell, 3 for 16. And we're waiting. Dameon Pierce, Devin Singletary. Well, that's not fun. Andrew Beck gets a rushing touchdown. CJ Stroud gets a rushing touchdown. Pearson Singletary, that whole thing, Bloom. Is that a thing for fantasy GMs or what?
Yeah, coming soon to a segment on the Waiver Wire show, right? They can't run the ball. They especially can't run the ball in the red zone. Give it to the fullback. And then they tried it again and it got thwarted. I mean, come on. You can do the fullback carry once for a touchdown in a game. And then you got to wait a couple of weeks. Not try it in the same game. They just can't get I hoped that Bobby Slowick in this running game would look a lot better out of the bye. It didn't. All right. And then CJ Stroud didn't look good. Noah Brown, really. Not Nico Collins, not Tank Dell, not Dalton Schultz. This offense was looking good against good defenses with a porous offensive line earlier in the year. They go out of the bye against Carolina, and this is what we get in this fantasy football season. They get to face another NFC South team with Tampa Bay coming to town next week.
Yeah, coming to town, coming to you soon. Carolina Panthers side, which includes Bryce Young, 22-31, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Adam Thielen, 8 for 72. Jonathan Mingo, 4 for 62. Put a pin in that. Let's talk about the backs. Chuba Hubbard, 15 for 28 on the ground. Why are we talking about the backs? 2 for 26 for Chuba as a receiver there as well. DJ Shark, 2 for 23 in this one. Terrace Marshall, not traded yet. Anyway, but this is how Carolina gets the win. Like this.
Yeah, they eke it out with the last-second field goal and a Tommy Tremble touchdown. And what we did see here was Chuba Hubbard is indeed the clear number 1 running back, and Raheem Blackshear was basically the number 2. Miles Sanders, well, that's what they think of that signing. He's basically the number 3 running back. Again, coming soon to a waiver wire segment near you. Not that Chuba Hubbard did much, got thwarted at the goal line multiple times. You did at least see Adam Thielen's floor is a solid wide receiver 2 in PPR leagues. This is a floor game because they won. Jonathan Mingo got going for Carolina in this one, and they break through the last winless team. We got the Reich-Venge game against Indianapolis next week.
Yeah, it's coming up to a TV near you. It is the Audible Week 8 recap, and away we go. Oh, man. The chat room's been talking about that. We got a lot of Vikings fans that watch this show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you're drinking tonight, Bloom. It might be from Ocelot Brewing Company. I should have told Stink about that because Stink did the Commanders game.
Ah.
So I always like to give Mark those little tips. You know what I mean? Like it's always the local stuff. That's always the best, baby. Right? Like let's do this thing. So let's talk about it. Pour one out. Kirk Cousins, whatever you're drinking, wherever you're at. You don't even have to be a Vikings fan. Kirk Cousins torn Achilles. 24-10. They win. In comes Jaron Hall, who reminded me of Russell Wilson, a bad version of Russell Wilson at BYU. Take that for what it's worth. It's a Broncos show. So, yeah, we can talk about the game. This is a recap show. So, like, Hawkins scored, Aston scored, KJ Osborne had 8 for 99. Like, okay. Yeah. Recap, yes. But now moving forward without Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
4-4. Would you make a move?
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's the question.
Would you get even a Ryan Tannehill or something
Right.
like
Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton. Would you do something if you're Minnesota? If you're Kevin O'Connell, would you do something? So yes, recap. Yes, 24-10. Yes, Packers suck. Sorry, Packers fans. But to me, Bloom, it's like moving forward without Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's tough, Cease. With more time, we might think about who is out there that has some familiarity with the McVay system. O'Connell coming from the McVay tree of coaching in some ways. But this is just sad. I want to put some words out there. Josh Raymer, who I absolutely love, the IDP show. Love anytime I get a chance to go and appear with those guys in the shed. He just said it was really, he was bummed because the Netflix show about Cousins revealed him to be a down-to-earth guy, a good husband, good father. I mean, he's corny sometimes. We certainly have had our moments where we weren't necessarily speaking about him in the most positive, nice terms because, well, that's what we do sometimes with the distance that we have from the NFL and how we get paid to just say whatever pops into our head about it. But yeah, this sucks. I mean, this really sucks. You hate seeing this. You hate seeing this for somebody who is giving everything he has for his team, and he's heading into a contract year. So you're right. The big question is, what's Minnesota going to do? Because if you've got TJ Hawkinson, if you've got Jordan Addison, oh yeah, Justin Jefferson, that gets more complicated now. The calculus of when he comes back, because Jalen Hall is not going to be the guy. I mean, he's not going to. I don't think this is going to be like a revelation. Okay. Akers and Madison, by the way, it's basically an even split. Madison got more work as the game went on. Akers got the touchdown. Really, you don't have anything here, pending a potential move at quarterback. But a few weeks ago, Cecil, we would have said that's crazy. Why would this team trade for a quarterback? They're not going to win the Super Bowl, okay? But at the same time, you want to keep a winning culture going. You want to keep something going after they hosted a playoff game last year. Going to Atlanta, we'll see. Very interested, but mostly sad.
Mostly saddened. Like Packers fans watching Jordan Love play. 229, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Jaden Reed, 4 for 83. Okay, that's becoming a thing. Romeo Dobbs with a touchdown, so at least that helps his day. 4 for 18. Christian Watson, 3 for 33. AJ Dillon, 5 for 41 as a receiver, 6 for 11 as a rusher. That sounds right. Aaron Jones is back. Is he though? All right, Bloom. Let's disappoint Packers fans.
Yeah. Wow. Again, don't want to be definitive. Jordan Love's not the answer. And not even the answer for fantasy. This was rough. Jones, Dillon basically splitting this backfield. Jones still doesn't look healthy. Doesn't matter. Dillon actually did more as a receiver than Jones. Doesn't matter. Jaden Reed was the leading receiver. That's bad. And what I mean by that is when Jaden Reed is leading receiver, then if you played Christian Watson, if you played, okay, Romeo Dobbs got a touchdown, fine. But you're wondering, is there anybody in the Packers offense we want to use? Now, the Rams did give up 43 points. Some of that was defense. There was a defensive touchdown, etc. But still, this Green Bay offense, at first, there were a lot of signs of hope. We thought, wow, once they get Watson and Jones healthy, well, we're still waiting. Watson healthier than Jones, but neither of them are 100%. And again, Cecil, I'll just say the same thing. Where is this team headed? What's the future? Both of these teams, not really all, both of these teams in both ways. Green Bay, Minnesota, Green Bay, the Rams, Minnesota and Atlanta, all four of these teams. Where are they going to be in 3 years? Who's going to be the GM? Who's going to be the coach? Who's going to be the quarterback? I have no idea.
But that's what we're here for. Bloom, I wonder what this says about LaFleur, because you mentioned Love not even being a good fantasy quarterback. I mean, flip and run. Like, you can do more. And then Gutekunst as a GM, like, I love Ted Thompson. I'll defend Ted Thompson forever and ever and ever. Goody, like, this is not good. It's not a good look. How about this, Bloom?
Yeah.
Saints, 38. I can't even read. I never learned how to read. Indianapolis Colts, 27. Derek Carr, 19 of 27, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Rashid Shaheed, love him. 3 for 153 and a touch. Michael Thomas, 4 for 68. Alvin Kamara, 4 for 51 and a receiving touchdown. Also Kamara, 17 for 59 and a rushing touchdown. But Taysom Hill, 9 for 63 and 2 rushing touchdowns. Also a catch for 14 yards. Chris Olave, 5 for 46. He's banged up, everybody. But the Saints get the big win, and they do it with a nice first half, but really steadiness in the second half.
Yeah, this was a really nice win for the Saints, who should be feeling like the division is theirs for the taking and be disappointed if they don't win this division. And some really good things happened in this game for the Saints. Number one, Rashid Shaheed catching 3 deep balls and Derek Carr having success in the deep passing game. Number two, they have their goal line back. No, it's not Jamal Williams. It's Taysom Hill. And like we talked about last week, Cease, in general, you have a positive association with, hey, when Taysom Hill is on the field, good things happen. And when you add in how much of a headache it is to have to prepare your defense for the Derek Carr conventional Saints offense and the Taysom Hill offense, especially when they're putting Taysom Hill out there in the red zone in the highest leverage plays, that's hard. That's hard to prepare your team for. Look, one of the teams that Hill has done the best against over the course of his career are the Falcons. See him twice a year. So you would think they could prepare. But Taysom Hill is that curveball, and he was a home run in your lineup. Also, Alvin Kamara. So here comes Jamal Williams. Ooh, that's going to hurt Hill. No, that's going to hurt Kamara. No. Kamara, and he didn't even have to get 13 catches to have a big game this time. Only 4 catches. Some big gains. Touchdown as a receiver, touchdown as a runner. Yeah. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, not as much in this game. But if this is a good offense, if the pie is growing, the slices get bigger, even if your slice is the same size. Bigger pie, bigger slice. You got to be happy with this result. It gives you some encouragement to put Rashid Shaheed in any given week after what he has done. This looked like a first-place team, and they play a team that most certainly doesn't look like a first-place team. Chicago, next week.
Gardner Minshew looks like every touchdown he throws is the very first touchdown he's ever thrown, which is awesome, right? It's that energy. It's that spirit. Just doesn't lead you to wins. 23 of 41, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INTs. Josh Downs, 7 for 72. It's a thing. Alec Pierce, 3 for 41. Michael Pittman, 8 for 40 and a touchdown. Drew Ogletree, 1 for 33 and a touchdown. There is Jonathan Taylor with 12 for 95. There's Zach Moss with 11 for 66 and a rushing touchdown. Also a catch for 8 yards for Moss. Taylor had a catch for 2 yards. So Gardner's excited. He's fired up, and the Colts aren't winning.
No, but that's okay. I mean, everything's still on plan for this team. What you love about this game is we're seeing the explosive Jonathan Taylor. And even though Zach Moss was actually the better fantasy play because he got the touchdown, it's still basically a 50-50 split. They didn't throw as much to the running backs in this one. You're seeing what Jonathan Taylor can add, and you're not really hesitating to put him in your lineup going forward because we had the ceiling game last week. And if this is a floor game, then because they're trailing throughout, well, it was 21-20 for like around halftime. You did see Michael Pittman. I want more targets. Here's more targets. 5 yards a catch, but still in PPR leagues, especially, you'll take that. Josh Downs isn't going anywhere. So what you liked here was Gardner Minshew wasn't making big plays happen. It wasn't like Shane Steichen solved the Saints defense, but they were productive enough. Drew Ogletree with that nice touchdown, nice throw on that one. And I think we have our template now. Jonathan Taylor in your lineups, Zach Moss, what the heck, flex with some upside. Josh Downs in your lineup as a wide receiver 3, Michael Pittman in your lineup as a wide receiver 2. As long as Gardner Minshew can stay healthy, he's a quarterback 2 super flex, and they should probably all be in your lineup next week against Carolina, even though Carolina did make Houston look like not the offense we hoped they'd be today.
Philadelphia and Washington, it happened. Get windows, and anyway, we'll get to that side in just a little bit. The Eagles, y'all up and done it. You almost didn't do it, but you all up and done it. You got the win over the Washington Commanders. Hell of a game called by Mark Schlereth, everybody. 38-31 is the final score. Eagles get the win. They're 7-1. Commanders lose. They're 3-5. Jalen Hurts throws for 4 touchdowns, 319 yards. Also, A.J. Brown, 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 7 for 99 and a touchdown. Julio Jones, 1 for 8 and a touchdown. Awesome. Dallas Goedert, 4 for 36. DeAndre Swift had 16 for 57 and a rushing touchdown. And there you have it. An interesting game, to say the least, especially a fourth quarter. You want to talk about edge of your seat football? Welcome to This is the XFL. No, this is the NFC East.
Yeah, and another reminder about these divisional games, because going into this game, Philly had just thumped Miami, and Sam Howell looked like a quarterback about to get benched. But remember, when these teams played earlier this year, Howell completed in Philly a last-second touchdown, literally last-second touchdown, to Jahan Dotson. More on him later, and it was an overtime game. So were they going to play each other close? They were indeed going to play each other close in this one. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, why wouldn't you just keep throwing it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? Devontae Smith finally has a big game, but let's just talk about A.J. Brown. Let's talk for a second about A.J. Brown. Record books, 125 yards is kind of an arbitrary number. I mean, that's great. He broke a record. What it stands for is, and Cecil, I'll just say this, even though it sounds like hyperbole. A.J. Brown, over the last 6 games, and I'm not just talking about statistics because we're fantasy players and that's what we care about in the end of the day, right? I'm talking about watch him play. Hall of Famer. I'm saying the last 6 games. If you watch what A.J. Brown has been doing out on the field, that's what a Hall of Fame player looks like. That's what a player who is the best at his position and is just, it's not just the size, it's not just the, because when A.J. Brown came into the league, he was a 225 pound receiver who had nuance and subtlety to his game, right? But now you're seeing the physical domination married to the skills. And we're looking at a player, if we're going to go back in Philadelphia seats, who's the only other player we've ever seen in the Philly uniform look like this? Terrell Owens. I mean, it's that, it's that kind of level of play. It's that kind of level of play. And wow. He had one of the catches of the year, and he almost made another one of the catches of the year. He's at that kind of level right now. Real interesting stuff with the tush push in this one. First, you had a tush push fumble at the goal line. Whoa. Yeah. But then you also had handing off to DeAndre Swift and faking the tush push at the end of the game, dice the game. So some wrinkles there for this Eagles team.
Just when you thought that tush was real.
Yeah, exactly. Nope. It's what's the old, remember the been caught stealing video where it was like you're a pregnant lady, but really it's just where you put all the stuff that you're shoplifting. Right. Anyway, Dallas is going to try to steal a win in Philadelphia next week.
Jahan Dotson steals my heart. People must hate when I talk about
you can
Jahan
say his
Dotson.
name again. You can say
I
it as
know.
much as you want, Cecil.
I love it. Do they figure it out going forward though? Like again, I feel like this is a Broncos preview. This could have been there the entire time. Whatever. 8 for 108 and a touchdown for him. Jameson Crowder shows back up, 7 for 95 and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin with a fantastic touchdown catch, 5 for 63 and a touch. Logan Thomas, 6 for 44 and a touch. That means 4 touchdowns for Sam Howell, 39 and 52, 397 yards. Incredible. Curtis Samuel, we didn't know if he was going to play, and then he did, and it was 4 for 22. Whatever. Brian Robinson, 10 for 59 in this one. So fireworks, sparks flying, Bloom, and my heart was singing to a Jahan Dotson tune.
Yeah, and you really got to love Sam Howell in this one because honestly, it felt like he could get benched during this game. You know, if the turnovers kept coming,
for sure. Yep.
He could have gotten benched in this game. And that could have been the last we really heard of Sam Howell starter. And really, that could have been his one chance. And that's what happened with his one chance. And then the book on him was going to be, well, he's a backup. He's like a Gardner Minshew, you know. But he really rallied in this game. He made plays in this game. And you see Dotson with the big game, McLaurin with the big game, Jameson Crowder, louder for Crowder with the big game. And this is what we see when this offense is at its peak. And, well, you just don't know what you're going to get week to week. When he's bad, the girl with the curl. When he's bad, he's very, very bad. When he's good, he's very, very good. If you had him in your lineup as a quarterback 2 superflex, he probably won your week for you in DFS. He was the answer. Which quarterback do you want in DFS? Sam Howell. We're going to watch the Curtis Samuel stuff. The Chris Rodriguez did not get in this one, but still, this is a Sam Howell offense. So Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. It's probably not going to happen in this backfield for fantasy. Probably going to see them still have some success next week. Maybe next week is a good Brian Robinson week because they're going to Foxborough.
Rodriguez or Myles Gaskin more disappointing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Royce.
Al Capone's vault.
Yeah, thanks, Royce. We'll leave that one alone. Leave Brittany alone. Oh my God. Let's talk about Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of games to recap, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland and Seattle, 24-20. The final score. Seattle gets to win the 5-2. Browns 4-3. PJ Walker 248, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. The touchdown to David Njoku, 4 for 77 and a touch. Amari Cooper 6 for 89. And then nobody else. Kareem Hunt, 14 for 55 and a rushing touchdown. But Pierre Strong is there, 10 for 41. And then 1 for 41 as a receiver. So the Hunt, Strong, this type of thing. Like, okay, that mystery. Hey, there's Jerome Ford. All right. And there's the Browns losing.
If it's a PJ Walker-led Browns team, you know it's going to be thrilling. You know it's going to come down to some wild plays, and you know that with PJ Walker, he's going to make plays that look like they win the game and plays that then they don't win the game. They do win the game in the end. That's not necessarily because of him. In this case, it was Jamal Adams with a headbutt, kind of like a soccer header, deflecting a ball in the air and setting up Seattle for the game-winning score. But Walker is doing enough to keep this very game Browns team in games on the road and doing enough to keep Amari Cooper in your lineup. 2 out of 3 games, he's been good. David Njoku, his best fantasy game of the year with PJ Walker. Now, the backfield was a 3-headed backfield. Jerome Ford surprisingly rallied to practice on Friday, said he wanted to play. Report was he was going to play. Got a carry to start off the game, and then we didn't see him again for a while. But then when he was back in the second half, he was pretty effective. So you have a 3-headed backfield. Kareem Hunt should still get the touchdowns. You didn't see a lot in the passing game to the running backs in this one. You did have the big game from Pierre Strong. And Pierre Strong, with his burst, his acceleration, he's showing he deserves a spot in this backfield. It's still probably Jerome Ford's backfield next week against Arizona. And we'll talk about Gus Edwards against Arizona. You want to play a running back against Arizona. Which one? Hopefully Jerome Ford can get in some full practices. Browns aren't going away. Speaking of mystery, Cease, who are we going to see start at quarterback next week for the Browns?
DTR. Maybe. Geno Smith, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 254 yards. Tyler Lockett, 8 for 81 and a touchdown. Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, 3 for 36 and a touchdown. It's enough, everybody. DK Metcalf, 5 for 67. Noah Fant, 2 for 32 in this one. Kenneth Walker, 8 for 66. And then Zach Charbonnet, 5 for 53. And Jake Bobo, 1 rushing touchdown. So more slide, Bobo, slide. The Looney Tunes, everybody. And did I see Field Yates had a Bobo jersey? Is that right? Did I see that correctly?
I don't know.
Either way,
that would make sense.
Enjoy your Bobo, everybody.
Yeah, more Bobo. You got more Bobo. You got Gino with his ups and downs, but he made the plays in the end. You got why run so little, actually. Kenneth Walker was really effective in this one, and the game was never out of hand. Zach Charbonnet was actually very good, showing us some hope that if Walker were to go down, the Charbonnet would be something. But again, they put this game in Geno Smith's hands for whatever reason, and he did come through in the end. Could have been a little easier. Tyler Lockett made it easy, catching 8 out of his 9 targets. And there are some wide receivers, there's some players, when they're game time decisions, we think, well, just stay away. Why bother? But Tyler Lockett has earned our respect, and he certainly helped some people get wins, earn those fantasy wins. DK Metcalf got 14 targets, so you like that. These guys are healthy now. Jackson Smith and Jigba with the game-winning touchdown, still just a what the heck flex. But if Jake Bobo hadn't turned this into his story, maybe we talk more about him. But now it's 4 wide receivers that they have. Interesting game for Seattle traveling east to play Baltimore next week.
Baltimore, Arizona, not as interesting. So let's get through this one, Bloom. Let's do it. And the Baltimore Ravens side of things includes Lamar Jackson, 157 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs, 3 rushing touchdowns for Gus Edwards. That's why this wasn't interesting. 4 for 40 and a touchdown for Mark Andrews. Justice Hill, 4 for 40 as a receiver. Oh, okay. Anyway. Hey, Rashad Bateman had a carry. He did something. Zay Flowers, 5 for 19. Oh, love Zay.
Yeah.
All right. This is how the Ravens win. Did I mention that? 31-24, the final score over the 1-7 Cardinals.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Ravens. They win these games as afterthoughts. They're one of the few teams in the NFL, and they've lost a few that they probably should have won this year. But generally, when they're playing inferior teams, they make them look like inferior teams, which lowers the upside for Lamar Jackson. But this team did score 4 offensive touchdowns. It just happened that Gus Edwards scored 3 of them. So Gus Edwards hears that stuff about Derrick Henry coming to Baltimore. He says, no, we don't need Derrick Henry. We have Gus Bus, get aboard. Mark Andrews at least scored the 1 touchdown that didn't go to Gus, and it just wasn't a big day for the passing game because they coasted in this one. Again, think about that when we think about Cleveland's offense next week, no matter who starts. Baltimore's offense, on the other hand, maybe next week we'll have a game when the pass offense opens up, when Geno Smith comes to town.
Maybe. It is a Broncos show. We will keep this somewhat brief, Bloom. Mainly because I don't want to go over an hour.
Arizona?
Oh, wait, Arizona side. Sorry. See, that's how boring it is.
Right.
Well, I mean, Joshua Dobbs had a rushing touchdown, had 2 passing touchdowns. Trey McBride had 10 for 95 and a touchdown. Marquise Brown had 6 for 33 and a touchdown. Michael Wilson, 4 for 58. Amari DiMercado, 20 for 78 in this contest. So, yeah, okay. Less boring than I thought, Bloom.
Yeah, this team is scrappy with Joshua Dobbs. We're going to see Kyler Murray next week, maybe. Joshua Dobbs with a good fantasy performance. Amari DiMercado showing that, hey, undrafted free agent, he can be their best back while James Conner is out. And hello, Trey McBride. And it wasn't just garbage time. So, again, we had the clue going into this game with Arizona throwing to the tight end as much as anyone other than Kansas City, Minnesota, and Atlanta. And they threw the tight end a lot. And this one, even Marquise Brown getting a touchdown as they were trying a futile comeback attempt. And Arizona, this is a team that has 2 pretty good first-round picks next year. Maybe Kyler Murray next week for the trip to Cleveland.
You should have thrown a penalty flag on me, Bloom. False start. Cecil Lammey talking Broncos before the Broncos are up.
It's a Broncos show before it's a Broncos show. Now it's a Broncos show.
Is charged. The Broncos
replay
win,
first down.
And I am going to say this, Bloom. They're still trading people. Okay? Maybe they're getting more for people. Maybe they're not trading as many people. But just enjoy this, Broncos fan. You beat the Chiefs. It's been 16 games Not since Peyton Manning. We've been doing this show a long time, okay? 18 years. But it had been 16 games. So we're talking about almost half of the time we've done this show. A little less than half, but still, like, not since Peyton Manning was the quarterback, and it's been a minute, but the Broncos win 24-9 is the final score. So rejoice, Pat Mahomes in the hurt tummy or flu or whatever. And if you're sick, stay home or play bad football. Mahomes, 241 yards, no touchdowns, 2 INT, sacked 3 times, really under duress. Much more than that. Travis Kelce, 6 for 58. Rashee Rice, 4 for 56. Justin Watson, 2 for 42. Why am I reading anything else? Stop making McCall Hardman a thing. Isaiah Pacheco, not real successful against the Broncos in either game, 8 for 40 on the ground. And I'm not saying the Chiefs lost this instead of the Broncos won it. No, the Broncos kicked their ass. Now, we'll see how the Chiefs rebound next week.
Yeah. I think that at a certain point, you felt the Chiefs kind of say, it's not our day, and give it to them. Let's just, not that they let them have the game, but you didn't see the Chiefs, just anguish here. Anguish, though, a lot of people that were waiting on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to get them over the top during the afternoon games and fantasy matchups, there's where the anguish is here. And we knew, and I guess we never, you mentioned Michael Jordan in the flu game, Cease. We don't bench players when you hear they have an illness, right? As long as they're active, we don't. So I'm not saying this is going to change our outlook. Sometimes it just might happen. Now, actually, during this game, Amon-Ra St. Brown was also added to the injury report for tomorrow night with an illness. I'm not saying bench Amon-Ra St. Brown for Khalif Raymond or something like that, but, just we'll keep our minds open to it. Hey, Rashee Rice should have done more. He had a bad drop in this one. The good news is this is a floor game for this offense, and Rashee Rice was still okay. So that's something to watch going forward. And again, something to watch Sunday morning, Miami, Kansas City for Das Deutsch in Frankfurt.
Broncos show time includes 40 rushing attempts. Here's the thing. It could have been
just how Sean Payton likes it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I know you don't want to do this, dude, but do you want to win? Like, he still doesn't trust Russell Wilson, although Wilson had 3 touchdowns. So you want to talk about fake news or mirage, right? Like, oh, he had 3 touchdowns. He only threw it 19 times. And I know Sean Payton wants him to throw more, but again, watch when nobody's open. Like, no, they're open. Russ doesn't see them. Anyway, Jerry Jeudy with the touchdown. Bye. See ya. Sutton with such heart. I absolutely cherish any time I get to talk to Courtland Sutton. He's a good young man, and man, he's got a lot of heart. He's putting up with a lot to be here. Anyway, belaboring things, Bloom. Let's talk Javonte, banging, like, let's do it. So, yes, win and enjoy it, Broncos country. It's been a while, and Tuesday's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. Just let it happen. Today, enjoy the spoils of your victory.
Yeah, exactly, Cease. Let's let him enjoy it. Hey, Sean Payton, his press conference introductory. We're going to beat Kansas City this year. They did. I don't know if he said that or not, but that would be like a rousing, we're going to go get them. And they did. And like you said, Cease, they physically dominated this game. You could really see how without Mahomes clicking, that the Denver kind of picked up on that. And Javonte, the workload. It's the workload that matters here, not the yards per carry, not the efficiency. And he scored as a receiver. And yes, Jeudy and Sutton get the touchdowns. The script couldn't have gone much better for Denver to show, hey, anyone interested in this nice, it's it's like a yard sale. We're like, let me show you how this works. Oh, look at it.
A brand new car.
Yeah. So, good for you, Denver. I still think, like you said, Cease, this is a team that is in tear it down mode, but there's something, at least for the fans, that believed in them and came out on a snowy day and got to enjoy, like you said, the first win. How many children have been born in the Denver metro area since the last time they beat the Chiefs? Since the last time the Chiefs lost on the road, Patrick Mahomes had never lost on the road in the division. So still, even when we're talking about the Broncos, we're still, in a way, talking about how great Patrick Mahomes is.
Yes, because he is simply fantastic. Do the 49ers have a Brock Purdy problem? Maybe. I mean, I was interested to see Sam Darnold. It's like, and he's okay. And what is it? Only 2 players have passed concussion protocol within the same week. Is that right?
There was another one earlier this year, I think. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
So
there
one.
you
There was
go.
one other one. Yeah.
One. Yeah. So it doesn't happen often, but it happened and Purdy played and he played. Okay, whatever. But the Bengals win 31-17, the final score over the 49ers. Bengals 4-3, 49ers 5-3. Joe Burrow 283, 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase 10 for 100 and a touchdown. Amazing. T. Higgins 5 for 69. Tyler Boyd 3 for 40 and a touchdown. Andre Iosivas with a touchdown there as well. Joe Mixon with a very important touchdown, 16 for 87 and a touch in this one. Burrow had 43 rushing yards as well. So the Bengals get it done. And, I think the 49ers side is more interesting, but let's talk Cincinnati because they're
Sure.
kind of now looking like we thought they would look.
Exactly. That's the headline here. Which is forget everything. It was a bad dream. And again, I want to say I underestimated Joe Burrow. I said put him on IR. He's going to get hurt. Why are you going to have him play through this when he should just rest? And you hope you can catch up in the second half of the season. And they're not going to have to because he kept them competitive-ish after a couple of games of looking like, somebody playing with the cast on his leg or something for a few games. And now, and Cecil, I think what you've seen is this team has learned because the necessity of having to rely on the short, quick passing game has now made them really sharp in the short, quick passing game. And the San Francisco defense is not so scary no matter who they're playing, but especially when they're playing the Bengals. Joe Mixon looks good. Joe Mixon looks spry. This whole team looks like a brand new team. Chase had a touchdown. Higgins looks all right. Boyd had a touchdown. Irv Smith had fumbled at the goal line, so maybe not Irv Smith. There's any tight ends available at the trade deadline because this team is back to having Super Bowl aspirations. Oh, just in time for a game against Buffalo.
Hey, there we go. Brock Purdy, 365, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, sacked a couple of times. Okay, there's that. Also a lost fumble. Okay, there's that. And if I know one thing about Kyle Shanahan, if you play quarterback, you better not Joe, turn the ball over. So do they have a Brock Purdy problem? It's a conversation. It's a conversation.
It's a conversation going into the bye week season. I would just say this. A couple more games like this in a row, and this team continues to fall in the standings. Now, Seattle has to do their part and keep winning and put pressure on them. But yeah, I could see that. And I think you've been telling us for years, yes, he really has, that Kyle Shanahan loves Sam Darnold. So that is something to consider. We can't know that firsthand. We know some things about Kyle Shanahan. We can't just pick him up and call him. But if that's true, if he really still has that fire, that torch that he's carrying for Darnold, then yeah, he's going to be more likely to give it a chance if Purdy continues to make mistakes, cracks showing. But let's give the Cincinnati defense credit. This is a balanced Cincinnati team without Deebo Samuel out there, and we'll see if Samuel can come back after the bye next week. George Kittle, massive. Brandon Ayuk, better than last week. Christian McCaffrey, scoring touchdowns. It is just that simple, even in a down week for this team. But a month ago, Cease, everything's humming. Super Bowl favorite. They just destroyed Dallas, who some people had as a Super Bowl favorite. Now, this team has to find their identity. This team has problems on both sides of the ball. They do have a bye to figure it out, but it's going in the wrong direction.
I love fantasy football. That's my effing problem. Anyway, I got that song stuck in my head now that you're saying that. I thought you were going to say problemas.
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 That's right. Before we sign off, I do just want to take a moment here.
Sure.
We had a lot to get through, so I want to save this to the end. There was a time, Cease, when you and I started doing this, that everybody knew everybody in the fantasy football industry. I mean, it was an industry. It wasn't even an industry in our little sandbox. Everybody knew everybody. And one of the true OGs, like Bob Harris level OGs, Greg Kellogg, put it out there last week that Jim Taz Day. And then I've known Jim I was in a league with Jim before I was on Football Guy staff.
Fantasy Taz, man. If you remember Old Yeller and the message boards, like Fantasy Taz.
You know who Simon, the great Simon, who's like one of the people that keeps Football Guys held together? His first fantasy football venture was with Taz. Simon Shepard, who's been, he's an Odd on the Couch alum. So I got to talk to him. A lot of people got to talk to him. He's got terminal pancreatic cancer, which is just there's not that many of us. And if you know of him, you send him some good thoughts. And otherwise, just like I like to say, Matthew Cooper, who I also known for a long time, Coop likes to quote me when I say, "Hey, Mom said if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But if you have something nice to say it.
Mhm.
Say it now. Say it while people are here to hear it." And I just wanted to take a moment out to recognize Taz because he's one of the good guys.
Mhm.
When you think about the football guys ethos, and we all just want to enjoy each other's company. We want to share this experience. We're not here because you might not know Taz because he's not like some of us, even you and I, Cease. He wasn't trying to get his name out there. He wasn't trying to get recognized for anything.
Well, and remember that from back in the day, Bloom. We should honestly write a book about this, but like in the early days of fantasy football analysis, there's a lot of hunger, and there was a lot of like, guys that would backstab other people.
Oh
and
yeah,
guys
everybody
that,
had a story
like,
about how
didn't
that
want to.
person he screwed me
Right,
over
right.
in
Or
this deal.
like,
Yeah,
I'm going to have a company and I'm not going to allow anyone else to have a larger voice than me in that company. One
right.
thing with football guys that we've always been blessed with is that was never our direction from David and Joe. And like with Taz being one of the good guys, and you mentioned Greg Kellogg, like there's some OGs that came up the right way without having to try to climb all over everybody because it
Didn't
was
make enemies.
scrappy back then.
Yeah. Taz does not have an enemy. There's no enemies.
Mhm.
There's he always in the fantasy football circles was an example. Just enthusiasm, enjoyment. Such a good-natured person, incredibly knowledgeable about football, incredibly passionate about fantasy football. He was around back when fantasy football was mainly gathering on the news groups. Even I was on Rec Music Fish. I wasn't on Rec Fantasy Football. So yeah, and I think it's great that still at this moment in time, for the most part, or at least the parts that are visible to me, our community, our online community, fantasy football as a whole is still pretty uplifting. We generally look out for each other. We generally want to help each other. We generally use our contact with each other to be positive. And nobody in our space was as consistent about that as Taz. And even though he's not a name a lot of people might know, he's been there. He was there forever, for a long time.
Mhm.
And his good vibes affected so many of us. So I wanted to take some time to recognize him. And certainly, if you want to reach out to him, if you did play with him or otherwise knew about him, reach out to me if you want to reach out to him. Sure, he'd love to hear from everybody, honestly, even if he's never heard your name before, but you know of him, or even if you're just listening to this show and you think, wow, this guy sounds pretty cool. So I just want to take that moment out because we need to take those moments out, and we need to really do that to recognize the value of each and every human being, but especially people like Taz.
Mhm. Fantastic. And with that, we bid you good evening for now. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Everyone out there, thanks for listening. Be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.